The quantum resonance scanner hummed softly in the dimly lit observation deck of the Xeraxian Imperial reconnaissance ship, Vortex Whisper. Commander Vexnar's iridescent skin shifted through muted gray tones, a biological tell of deep concentration that would have been invisible to human observers. His three-fingered hands moved with practiced precision across holographic displays, parsing the incoming data from the unremarkable blue-green planet that had just appeared in their long-range scans. Preliminary analysis complete, chirped the ship's central AI in its emotionless synthetic tone. Planetary designation: Sol 3, locally known as Earth. Technological complexity: Tier 5. Potential resource extraction: Moderate. Recommended classification: Standard colonization protocol. Vexinar's secondary visual receptors, which humans would have mistaken for something between an eye and a sensor, narrowed slightly. Something about the planet's electromagnetic signature felt unusual. The data streams were chaotic, almost organic in their complexity, defying the neat categorizations that had served the Xeraxian Empire for 7 centuries of galactic expansion. Meanwhile, 384,400 kilometers away, Dr. Emily Rodriguez sat in the cramped mission control of NASA's Advanced Satellite Tracking Station. Her fingers danced across multiple screens, a half-empty coffee cup precariously balanced beside a stack of energy bar wrappers. The facility, buried deep within Cheyenne Mountain, represented humanity's most advanced early warning system, a product of decades of classified research into potential extraterrestrial threats. "Got you," she muttered, her dark eyes reflecting the cascade of incoming data. The anomalous energy signature had triggered a series of automated protocols she and her team had developed over years of speculation and preparation. The satellite, officially designated as a communications relay, but secretly equipped with experimental quantum detection systems, began its silent counterintelligence operation. Most of the Xeraxian sensors would never detect the micro-adjustments, the infinitesimal data packets being collected and compressed, transmitted through encrypted channels that would appear as nothing more than background cosmic noise. On the Vortex Whisper, Junior Sensor Analyst Krelax approached Commander Vexnar with additional findings. "Commander, our initial scans reveal multiple fascinating characteristics. The planet demonstrates significant electromagnetic diversity, multiple transmission frequencies, complex communication networks that suggest." "Suggest what?" Vexnar interrupted, his tone sharp. Krelax hesitated. Hesitation was rare among Xeraxians, a species prized for computational precision. "The communication patterns suggest something beyond standard technological development. They're not uniform. They're adaptive, almost alive." Down on Earth, in a secured underground facility beneath the Pentagon, a different kind of preparation was underway. Major Jack Harper reviewed holographic simulations, scenarios developed over decades of classified research into potential extraterrestrial contact. Each simulation represented humanity's worst-case scenarios: full-scale invasions, targeted resource extraction, complete planetary subjugation. The military had long operated under a simple philosophy: hope for peace, prepare for war. And their preparations went far beyond what any potential alien civilization might expect. Back in the NASA tracking station, Rodriguez's team had already begun mobilizing. Encrypted communications were being routed through multiple international defense networks. The anomaly would be tracked, analyzed, and, if necessary, met with a response that would shock any potential invaders. "Computer," Rodriguez commanded, "initiate Pathway Omega Protocol. Full spectrum analysis, maximum encryption." The Xeraxian ship continued its silent observation, completely unaware that it was being studied just as intently as it studied them. The planet below, this Earth, pulsed with a complex network of communications, technological systems, and underlying resilience that no algorithmic analysis could truly capture. Commander Vexnar made a decision that would echo through galactic history. "Prepare standard reconnaissance report. Classify planet for potential future colonization. What the commander didn't know was that this classification would be the first of many fatal mistakes. Humanity had been watching. Humanity was ready. The Xeraxian Central Intelligence Archive was a marvel of computational engineering, spanning an entire artificial moon orbiting the imperial capital. Trillions of quantum processors parsed galactic data with machine-like precision, reducing civilizations to numerical profiles that determined their fate with cold, mathematical certainty. Analyst Prime Xeltok reviewed the initial report on Earth, his neural implants processing information at speeds that would have fried human computer systems. The holographic display flickered with layers of data, planetary resources, technological indicators, sociopolitical fragmentation, military capabilities. Tier 5 civilization. Xeltok muttered, more out of habit than any emotional investment. Preliminary classification. Harvest priority delta. The report painted a devastating picture of human potential, or rather, the lack thereof. Multiple competing nation-states suggested inherent weakness, constant internal conflicts, limited space exploration, and seemingly self-destructive technological development, all pointed to a species ripe for imperial integration. What the Xeraxian analysis failed to capture was the context behind those data points. Deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Major Jack Harper stood before a holographic display that told a different story. The Xena Preparedness Task Force had spent decades developing contingency plans that defied conventional military thinking. Each scenario was a complex web of potential responses, adaptive strategies that could transform civilian infrastructure into a defense network. "Look closer," Harper said to the assembled team of military strategists, scientists, and intelligence experts. The hologram shifted, revealing layers of hidden preparations. Dr. Marcus Williams, a quantum physicist with a background in advanced systems theory, pointed to a series of complex network diagrams. "Our technological development isn't linear," he explained. "We've been preparing for scenarios that most would consider impossible. Our apparent fragmentation is actually our greatest strength." The team had developed a multi-tiered response system that went far beyond traditional military doctrine. Every major city had underground infrastructure that could become defensive strongholds. Communication networks were designed with redundancy that would survive multiple simultaneous attack vectors. Industrial capabilities could be rapidly converted to military production. On the Xeraxian analysis platform, Xeltok continued parsing data. Earth's nuclear arsenals were noted, primitive by imperial standards, but potentially problematic. Military spending appeared fragmented, with multiple nations maintaining separate defense capabilities. What the analysis missed was the intricate web of international defense agreements, the shared intelligence networks, the capability to rapidly unite in the face of an external threat. Alex Chen, a 23-year-old cybersecurity expert working with a classified government program, was already setting up the groundwork for a global communication and defense network. His team had developed encryption protocols that would make Xeraxian communication interception look like children's play. "They're going to see what we want them to see," Chen muttered, his fingers flying across multiple holographic interfaces, hidden backdoors, quantum communication channels, and adaptive network systems were being put into place, a digital defensive web that spanned the globe. The Xeraxian report continued to compile its assessment. Technological capability, limited space exploration, military potential, fragmented, region-specific capabilities, resource extraction potential, high, resistance probability, minimal. Each line was another nail in humanity's presumed coffin. The Empire had conquered civilizations with far more apparent potential. Earth would be another simple acquisition, another footnote in the imperial expansion block. In a secured facility outside Washington, D.C., Dr. Emily Rodriguez reviewed the initial detection data from the alien reconnaissance. Her team had already begun developing preliminary communication and defense protocols. Years of theoretical research, classified wargaming scenarios, and advanced sensor development were about to be put to the ultimate test. "They're looking," Rodriguez said to her team. but they're not seeing. The fundamental error in the Zeraxian assessment was a failure of imagination. They saw data points, not potential. They saw a divided species, not a civilization capable of unprecedented unity when faced with an external threat. Commander Vexnar would receive the final report within hours, a comprehensive analysis that would seal the Empire's fatal miscalculation. Humanity would be classified as a simple resource to be harvested, a primitive civilization ripe for conquest. Little did they know that every piece of data they collected was being studied, analyzed, and prepared for in ways their computational models could never predict. The invasion was coming, and humanity was ready. The first Zeraxian assault wave descended through Earth's atmosphere like a storm of obsidian razors. 50 advanced combat vessels, each capable of obliterating entire continents, moved with the precision of a surgical strike. Their quantum displacement engines left ghost-like trails of distorted reality, a technological marvel that had subjugated hundreds of civilizations across the galaxy. Major Jack Harper watched from the underground command center at Cheyenne Mountain, a network of holographic displays surrounding him like a digital cocoon. His team had been preparing for this moment for decades, a fact the Zeraxians could never have anticipated. "Incoming wave," announced Captain Lisa Rodriguez, her voice steady. "Multiple entry vectors. Primary targets appear to be major population centers and critical infrastructure." The first wave targeted what the Zeraxian tactical analysis deemed critical points: Washington, D.C., Beijing, Moscow, London. Their strategy was designed to decapitate human leadership and create maximum psychological shock. What they didn't understand was that humanity's strength was never about centralized control. In Washington, the first strike hit the Pentagon. A quantum phase weapon designed to liquefy complex structures instead found itself encountering something entirely unexpected. The building's underground levels, reinforced with experimental metamaterials developed through classified research, absorbed and redistributed the energy. Alex Chen, coordinating from a mobile command center, began his counterattack before the dust had settled. The Zeraxian communication networks, so advanced, so predictable, became their greatest vulnerability. Chen's team had spent years developing adaptive intrusion algorithms that could penetrate and manipulate alien communication systems. "We're in," Chen muttered, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "They're using a quantum encryption model." Cute. Within moments, the Zeraxians found their own communication networks turning against them. Targeting systems began to misfire. Weapon synchronization collapsed. What should have been a precision strike became a chaotic ballet of miscommunication. In the skies above major cities, something remarkable happened. Military forces that had been competitors mere hours ago now moved with unprecedented coordination. F-35 fighters from the United States Air Force merged seamlessly with Chinese J-20 stealth fighters. Russian S-400 defense systems worked in concert with European radar networks. Major Harper's voice cut through the communication channels. "This is not about individual nations. This is about our planet." The Zeraxians had studied human military history. They understood conventional warfare, territorial conflicts, technological hierarchies. What they could not comprehend was humanity's capacity for immediate organic adaptation. A Zeraxian assault ship attempting to neutralize London's infrastructure found itself targeted not just by military systems, but by civilian communication networks. Traffic control systems became weapon targeting platforms. Cellular networks transformed into distributed communication hubs. Everyday technology became a weapon. Dr. Emily Rodriguez, monitoring from her advanced research facility, watched in fascination. "They're treating this like a traditional invasion," she said to her team. "They don't understand that for humans, every system is a potential weapon." The quantum displacement engines of the Zeraxian ships, their most advanced technological advantage, became their greatest weakness. The ships generated massive electromagnetic signatures that Chen's team used to create cascading disruption patterns. Each alien vessel became a beacon, its own technology turning against it. In Beijing, A group of university students hijacked local communication infrastructure, creating false signal patterns that confused Xeraxian targeting systems. In Moscow, industrial automation systems were rapidly repurposed to generate electromagnetic countermeasures. Commander Vexnar watched in growing horror from the Vortex Whisper. The invasion plan, meticulously developed over decades, tested against hundreds of civilizations, was falling apart in ways their computational models could never have predicted. "This is impossible," Vexnar muttered, his biological systems registering shock, a sensation the Xeraxian species had not experienced in centuries. By the engagement's first hour, what was meant to be a surgical strike had devolved into chaos. The Xeraxians had not just underestimated human military capability, they had fundamentally misunderstood the nature of human existence. Adaptation was not just a human strategy. For humanity, adaptation was a way of life. The first skirmish was over, and the real war was just beginning. The first Xeraxian assault vessel crash-landed in a classified research facility outside Area 51, Nevada. What should have been a moment of imperial triumph became the most critical technological turning point in human history. Dr. Marcus Williams arrived within hours, his quantum physics team assembled like a surgical strike of intellectual prowess. The captured vessel wasn't just a piece of technology. It was an entire universe of potential waiting to be unlocked. "This isn't about copying," Williams explained to Major Jack Harper and Dr. Emily Rodriguez. "This is about understanding, and then reinventing." The alien technology defied conventional human understanding. Quantum communication systems that operated beyond traditional electromagnetic spectrums. Energy conversion mechanisms that seemed to bend the very laws of thermodynamics. Computational matrices that didn't just process information but seemed to anticipate it. Within the first 72 hours, something extraordinary began to happen. Where other civilizations would have spent decades attempting to comprehend alien technology, human researchers were already modifying, adapting, transforming. Alex Chen's cybersecurity team discovered that the Xeraxian communication networks operated on a predictive algorithmic model. Instead of linear processing, they used a quantum entanglement method that allowed instantaneous communication across vast distances. Most species would have been overwhelmed. Humans saw it as a puzzle to be solved, and then improved. "Their weakness is their rigidity," Chen muttered, pulling apart a quantum communication module. "They've optimized their systems to such a degree that they've lost adaptability." In laboratories across the globe, interdisciplinary teams began working at a pace that would have been impossible mere weeks earlier. Physicists worked alongside materials engineers. Computer scientists collaborated with neurobiologists. The crash-landed vessel became a Rosetta Stone of technological potential. Dr. Rodriguez's team made the first breakthrough. The alien energy conversion system didn't just transfer energy, it translated it across dimensional interfaces. By the end of the first week, they had developed a hybrid system that could potentially revolutionize human energy production. Major Harper understood the strategic implications immediately. "This isn't just about defense anymore," he told the assembled research team. "This is about fundamentally changing our technological paradigm." The Xeraxian Imperial Research Division received the first disturbing reports within 10 days of the initial invasion. Their most advanced technological artifacts, systems that had remained unchanged for centuries, were being not just analyzed, but reimagined. A captured quantum computational matrix that should have taken their researchers decades to partially understand was being systematically dismantled and reconstructed by human researchers. They weren't just copying the technology, they were improving it. Dr. Williams' most significant discovery came from an unexpected intersection. By combining the alien quantum communication principles with human neurological research, they developed a computational system that could actually learn and adapt in real time. Traditional AI is about programming, Williams explained during a classified briefing. This is about creating systems that can genuinely think, that can make intuitive leaps. Hybrid technologies began to emerge rapidly. Communication systems that could predict and avoid jamming. defense mechanisms that could adapt faster than any tracking system, energy weapons that could be reconfigured mid-combat. In the Xeraxian Imperial Command, senior analyst Seltok began to realize the magnitude of their miscalculation. These weren't just technological adaptations. This was a fundamental reimagining of technological potential. One captured Xeraxian fighter vessel was completely reverse-engineered and rebuilt within 3 weeks. Not as a copy, but as something entirely new. Its quantum displacement engine was transformed into a hybrid system that human researchers nicknamed the Adaptive Quantum Resonance Drive. Alex Chen's team had done something the Xeraxians would have considered impossible. They had turned their communication interception algorithms into a weapon. Each piece of alien technology they studied became a potential vector for counterattack. By the end of the first month, human technological capabilities had advanced more rapidly than in the previous century. The invasion wasn't just being resisted, it was becoming a catalyst for a technological renaissance. The Xeraxian Empire had come to harvest a planet. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping technological giant, and humanity was just getting started. The Xeraxian Psychological Warfare Division had perfected their techniques over 7 centuries of galactic conquest. Their neural disruptors had broken the will of civilizations far more technologically advanced than Earth. Their computational models predicted complete human capitulation within 72 hours of the initial assault. They were catastrophically wrong. Rachel Thompson, a former Marine turned global resistance coordinator, understood something the aliens could never comprehend. Human beings didn't break. They transformed. When the first psychological warfare transmissions began, massive quantum encrypted signals designed to induce collective despair, something unexpected happened. Instead of fear, the transmissions sparked a global phenomenon of unprecedented unity. A teenager in Mumbai created a viral video documenting her family's resistance. An elderly couple in rural Kansas broadcast their defiance on local radio. A group of students in Sao Paulo began developing communication networks that could bypass alien jamming technologies. The Xeraxian neural algorithms, designed to identify and exploit psychological vulnerabilities, encountered a computational nightmare. Human emotion wasn't a weakness to be manipulated. It was a complex, adaptive system that defied traditional analysis. They're trying to understand us through logic, Dr. Emily Rodriguez explained during a classified briefing. But humans aren't logical. We're emotional. We're unpredictable. Social media platforms, typically seen as sources of division, transformed into global resistance networks. Each attempt to spread fear became a catalyst for more profound connection. Memes became psychological warfare. Personal stories of resistance spread faster than any alien communication system could track. In the Xeraxian command ship, analyst Prime Seltok watched in growing confusion. Their psychological models showed complete societal breakdown. Instead, they were witnessing something utterly alien to their understanding. Major Jack Harper had prepared for this moment. The Xena Preparedness Task Force had developed psychological resilience protocols that went far beyond traditional military training. They understood that human strength came from narrative, from shared experience, from the ability to find meaning in adversity. Look at how they're responding, Harper told his team, watching global communication networks. This isn't just resistance. This is transformation. The aliens had studied human conflict histories. They understood wars, territorial disputes, technological competitions. What they could not comprehend was a species that could turn collective trauma into a source of strength. Rachel Thompson's Global Resistance Network became something the Xeraxians had never encountered. It wasn't a military hierarchy. It was a living, breathing organism of human connection. Communication channels that could be destroyed and rebuilt instantly. Leadership that was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. Alex Chen's communication technologies played a crucial role. Every time the aliens attempted to disrupt communication networks, humans found new ways to connect. Satellite networks were reproposed. Underground communication systems were developed. Amateur radio operators became critical intelligence networks. The Xyraxian neural disruptors, designed to induce collective hopelessness, had an inverse effect. Each transmission became a rallying cry. Each attempt to break human spirit only made that spirit stronger. In occupied territories, something remarkable began to happen. Local populations didn't just resist, they integrated resistance into every aspect of daily life. Manufacturing workers secretly modified production lines. Teachers turned classrooms into intelligence gathering centers. Even children became part of a global resistance network. Dr. Rodriguez identified the fundamental flaw in the Xyraxian strategy. They see emotion as a weakness, she explained. We see it as our greatest strength. Psychological profiles captured by alien systems revealed something they could not process. Humans didn't just survive adversity. They found meaning in it. Every story of resistance became a weapon more powerful than any quantum-encrypted transmission. The global narrative began to shift. This was no longer just a planetary defense. This was a collective human experience that transcended traditional boundaries of nationality, culture, or technology. Commander Vexnar received the first comprehensive psychological assessment, and for the first time in the Xyraxian Empire's history, a report came back without clear computational conclusions. The summary was brutally simple. Human psychological systems do not compute. What the Xyraxians had intended as a swift conquest was transforming into something they could never have anticipated. They weren't just fighting a planet. They were fighting an idea. And ideas, as humanity would soon demonstrate, were the most dangerous weapon of all. The Galactic diplomatic nexus had always been a place of carefully maintained hierarchies. For 7 centuries, the Xyraxian Empire had orchestrated a complex network of subjugated civilizations, diplomatic dependencies, and strategic alliances that seemed unbreakable. Major Jack Harper and Dr. Emily Rodriguez arrived at the secret diplomatic staging point, a neutral space station orbiting a distant neutron star, with something the galactic political landscape had never seen, a completely different approach to interstellar relations. Their delegation was unlike any diplomatic mission in recorded history. Scientists sat alongside military strategists. Cultural anthropologists worked with quantum physicists. Communication experts collaborated with xenobiological researchers. They weren't just preparing for a diplomatic engagement. They were rewriting the entire concept of interstellar negotiation. Alex Chen had prepared something unprecedented, a communication network that could bypass traditional diplomatic channels, allowing direct communication with species previously considered too insignificant to engage with. Encrypted quantum transmission systems that could penetrate even the most sophisticated Xyraxian communication barriers. We're not here to conquer, Dr. Rodriguez explained to the first delegation of the Krultheri, a species that had been under Xyraxian occupation for 3 generations. We're here to liberate. The Xyraxian Empire's diplomatic model was based on a simple principle: technological superiority translated directly into political control. They maintained their galactic influence through a combination of advanced weaponry, economic manipulation, and carefully constructed communication networks that prevented subjected species from organizing. Humanity's approach was radically different. Each species they encountered received not just a potential alliance, but a comprehensive support package. Technical assistance programs, communication infrastructure development, cultural exchange initiatives that went beyond mere political maneuvering. The Krultheri representatives, beings composed of what humans would describe as a crystalline neural network, listened with a combination of curiosity and disbelief. No galactic power had ever approached them as potential equals. Major Harper understood the strategic depth of their approach. This isn't just about defeating the Xyraxians, he told his team. This is about creating a new model of interstellar cooperation. One by one, subjugated civilizations began to see humanity not as potential conquerors, but as something entirely unprecedented, genuine partners. The Xyraxian Imperial Diplomatic Corps received the first reports and found them incomprehensible. Species that had been docile for generations were suddenly showing signs of unprecedented resistance. Communication networks that had been carefully controlled for centuries were developing unexpected complexity. What humans understood, and the Xeraxians did not, was that true power came not from control, but from connection. Dr. Rodriguez's team had developed communication protocols that went beyond traditional diplomatic language. They weren't just translating words, they were creating frameworks for mutual understanding. Technological assistance programs that didn't just provide advanced systems, but taught the underlying principles of innovation. Alex Chen's communication networks became the unexpected weapon. Each transmission carried not just information, but a fundamental challenge to the existing galactic political structure. Encrypted channels allowed subjugated species to communicate directly, sharing resistance strategies, technological adaptations, cultural preservation techniques. The Xeraxian Empire had built its power on the assumption that conquered species would remain passive. Humanity demonstrated that resistance was a creative act. By the mission's third standard galactic rotation, something extraordinary had happened. What began as a defensive strategy for Earth had transformed into a genuine movement of galactic liberation. The Krell were the first to formally declare support, but they would not be the last. Species that had been silent for generations began to find their voices. Communication networks that had been dormant began to pulse with unexpected energy. Commander Vexnar received the diplomatic assessment, and for the first time, the report contained something that defied computational analysis. Hope. The Xeraxian Empire had come to Earth expecting a simple conquest. Instead, they had awakened a force that would fundamentally reshape galactic politics. Humanity wasn't just fighting for itself anymore. They were fighting for an entirely new way of existing. The Xeraxian Imperial High Command assembled in their most secure decision chamber, a quantum-shielded facility that had never known defeat. Holographic displays mapped the galactic conflict, each point of resistance tracked with mathematical precision. Those displays were about to become a nightmare. What had begun as a simple planetary invasion had transformed into an existential threat to the Empire's 7-century-long dominance. The human counterattacks were nothing short of revolutionary, a multi-dimensional warfare strategy that defied every computational model in Xeraxian strategic archives. Major Jack Harper stood in the underground command center, coordinating a global, now interstellar, resistance that was equal parts military strategy, technological innovation, and psychological warfare. The wall of holographic displays showed a complex network of human and allied alien forces, moving with a fluidity that would have been impossible weeks earlier. They've standardized their technological adaptations, Dr. Marcus Williams reported, pointing to a series of quantum-encrypted communication pathways. The hybrid technologies developed from captured Xeraxian systems had become something entirely new. Not just reverse-engineered alien tech, but a fundamentally different approach to technological innovation. Alex Chen's communication networks had become the nervous system of the resistance. What the Xeraxians had seen as a fragmented human communication infrastructure was actually a living, adaptive system. Each attempt to disrupt the networks only made them stronger, more resilient. The first major counteroffensive began not with weapons, but with information. Encrypted transmission waves carried not just military intelligence, but comprehensive cultural and technological information. Every subjugated species the humans contacted received more than just support. They received the blueprint for resistance. Dr. Emily Rodriguez had developed communication protocols that were themselves a form of technological warfare. Each transmission carried adaptive algorithms that could penetrate and reconfigure Xeraxian communication systems. What should have been a simple information transfer became a cascading system of technological transformation. In the space between star systems, something unprecedented was happening. Captured Xeraxian vessels were being transformed into hybrid technologies. Military installations became centers of rapid innovation. Every piece of alien technology became a potential weapon of liberation. Commander Vexnar watched in growing horror as the computational models collapsed. The invasion of Earth was no longer just a military engagement. It had become a fundamental challenge to the Empire's entire existential model. The turning point came during what the Xeraxians had planned as their final assault. A massive Imperial fleet, containing technologies that had subjugated hundreds of civilizations, approached the solar system. They expected total capitulation. Instead, they found a resistance that was no longer just human. The first wave of defense involved technologies that would have been considered impossible weeks earlier. Quantum displacement systems developed from captured alien vessels. Communication networks that could predict and counter alien targeting systems. Defense mechanisms that didn't just protect, they transformed incoming attacks into counter-offensive opportunities. Rachel Thompson's Global Resistance Network had evolved into something far beyond a traditional military command structure. It was a living, breathing system of human and allied alien coordination. Leadership was distributed, communication was instantaneous, adaptation was constant. "This isn't about winning a war," Major Harper explained to his command team. "This is about demonstrating a fundamentally different way of existing." The Xeraxian fleet found itself confronting not just human resistance, but a comprehensive challenge to their entire model of galactic control. Each of their most advanced weapons was met with a response that was simultaneously defensive and transformative. Captured communication channels revealed the true depth of the human strategy. They weren't just resisting, they were rebuilding. Every military engagement was accompanied by technological innovation, diplomatic outreach, and a fundamental reimagining of interstellar relations. The Imperial fleet's quantum communication systems began to fail. Targeting mechanisms collapsed. Weapon synchronization became impossible. What had begun as an invasion of Earth had transformed into a galactic liberation movement. Commander Vexnar's final transmission to the Imperial High Command was brutally simple. "We did not find a planet to conquer. We found a fundamental challenge to everything we believed about existence." The turning point had come, and humanity was just beginning to show what it could do. The final battle was not a single moment, but a cascading series of engagements that would redefine galactic civilization. The Xeraxian Imperial Armada, the most advanced military force in known space, approached the solar system with what they believed was an unbeatable arsenal. Quantum phase weapons that could deconstruct planetary surfaces, dimensional displacement systems that could erase entire civilizations, communication networks that had maintained Imperial control for 7 centuries. Major Jack Harper stood in the Central Command Hub, a facility that was part military installation, part technological innovation center. Around him, a coalition that defied every previous model of interstellar cooperation had assembled. Humans worked alongside species that had been enslaved for generations. Technology developed on Earth was being implemented by civilizations across multiple star systems. "This isn't just our fight anymore," Harper said to Dr. Emily Rodriguez and Alex Chen. "This is about changing the entire paradigm of galactic existence." The first wave of Xeraxian assault ships encountered something completely unexpected. The solar system's defense was not a traditional military formation. It was a living, adaptive system that transformed with each incoming threat. Captured Xeraxian vessels, reverse-engineered and improved, became the first line of defense. Quantum communication networks developed by humans created interference patterns that made traditional targeting systems useless. Where the Imperial forces expected linear resistance, they found a multi-dimensional response that defied computational prediction. Dr. Marcus Williams had developed a series of technological innovations that turned the very fabric of space into a weapon. Quantum entanglement systems that could redirect energy weapons, adaptive defense mechanisms that learned and transformed with each engagement. The battle moved beyond traditional three-dimensional space. Communication became warfare. Every transmission was a potential weapon. Every piece of technological information a strategic asset. Rachel Thompson's Global Resistance Network had transformed into something far beyond a traditional military command. Leadership was distributed. Communication was instantaneous. Adaptation was constant. The Xeraxian Imperial Command received increasingly fragmented reports. Their most advanced computational systems were being systematically dismantled. Communication networks collapsed. Weapon synchronization became impossible. What had begun as a simple planetary invasion had become a fundamental challenge to the Empire's entire existential model. Commander Vexnar watched in growing horror as computational models failed. The invasion of Earth was no longer just a military engagement. It had become a revolution. The final confrontation happened not on a single battlefield, but across multiple dimensions of existence. Technological systems became weapons. Communication networks became battlegrounds. Every piece of captured technology was transformed, improved, turned against its original creators. The coalition that humanity had assembled was nothing like traditional military alliances. Species that had been enslaved for generations now fought with a combination of technological innovation and existential determination. Each engagement was more than a military action. It was a statement of possibility. Dr. Rodriguez's most significant contribution wasn't a weapon, but a communication protocol, a way of understanding that went beyond traditional models of conflict and cooperation. Each transmission carried not just information, but a fundamental challenge to existing power structures. Alex Chen's communication networks had become something far beyond traditional technological infrastructure. They were a living, breathing system of resistance and innovation. Every attempt to disrupt them only made them stronger, more complex, more adaptive. The Xeraxian fleet found itself confronting not just human resistance, but a comprehensive challenge to their entire model of galactic control. Each of their most advanced weapons was met with a response that was simultaneously defensive and transformative. In the final moments, the battle became something beyond military engagement. It was a confrontation of fundamental philosophies. The Xeraxian Empire's model of control versus humanity's model of adaptive cooperation. Commander Vexnar's final transmission to the Imperial High Command was a moment of profound realization. We did not find a planet to conquer. We found a civilization that will change everything we thought we knew about existence. The invasion was over, but humanity's real journey was just beginning. Epilogue. Across the galaxy, civilizations watched and understood that nothing would ever be the same again.